Welcome to episode 207 of the Daniel Yoris podcast, a rant on silly workouts. Let's go. There is a famous quote in bodybuilding, or in fitness in general, and it goes like this. Say it with me when you know it. Everybody wants to be a bodybuilder, but don't nobody want to lift no heavy ass weight. And maybe you're like, okay, I get you. Ronnie Coleman, sure, great. Maybe you don't want to be an actual bodybuilder. Chances are, though, you do want to build your actual body, as in building some muscle, not crazy muscle, but some muscle, losing some weight, and generally shaping your body into a certain shape, a certain look, a certain aesthetic, a certain size, whatever. And that means that in some senses, you do want to be a bodybuilder, and still, people don't want to lift any heavy-ass weight. Now, this rant is spurred by someone asked me this week what I think. I did a little Q&A on Instagram, and someone asked me what I think about rebounding as a form of exercise. And coincidentally, last week, one of my clients came in and she said, "Oh, you're not going to be happy with what I'm about to tell you. I bought one of those rebounding things. You know, I went down the YouTube shorts rabbit hole a little bit too much. And long story short, I hurt my neck from using it too much. And, you know, I've been training her for a while, and she's very susceptible to, let's just say, the little things of social media. And she knows that, and we have this conversation all the time, and she's very much okay with me saying that here. But it's, you know, nothing wrong with trying, experimenting, and what have you. And so this is where this rant is coming from. She literally injured her neck, and, you know, people asking about it, and it's like two things in 1 week is too many times. So it saddens me really that people are continually looking for, frankly, shortcuts and easy things to try and get in shape and otherwise solve their fitness problems. And it's not that you're even doing it on purpose. It's like a subconscious looking for easy thing, which is not entirely your fault at all. It's the way the human brain is wired. But I'm really upset about the way that these things are marketed and the empty promises that come with them that make it sound so great and wonderful and like it's going to solve all the problems that you have, and it's just not going to. So I'm going to rant a little bit about this because I feel like I just need to get this off my chest. So part of this is a little bit cathartic for me. But of course, I'm going to, you know, try and make this helpful and useful, and I'll do my best to also keep it cohesive and short instead of just getting mad and, you know, letting my emotions out on the internet, because that is completely useless for everyone. So I've made, you know, a bunch of notes before this just so I keep my thoughts organized rather than just spouting off about things that I don't like in fitness. Let me start by establishing that, yes, all exercise is good, whether it's rebounding or jumping up and down in your living room. Like, exercise, moving your body is good. We can all agree on that. And in no way am I discouraging anyone from getting exercise. It's basically the best thing you can do. By all means, you know, do whatever you want. As long as you're not harming anyone else or hurting anyone else, do whatever you want. And don't really care. And who am I to judge what it is that you do? But just because you do whatever you want, it doesn't mean that you get whatever you want. And this, again, is where I start to get upset, because people are trying to get in shape, to build their body, to build a certain look or physique. And they're being sold things that promise them that, and they just objectively cannot deliver on those promises. A lot of these things, rebounding is, you know, the one that we'll start with, but we'll go into like Pilates a lot because that's pretty common right now and very, very trendy. Pilates, these yoga and kind of boot camps and a multitude of other things that claim to help build muscle and strength and lose weight and all the things. We're going to talk about all those, as well as like some things that people do in the gym as well. This is not like hey, you should only be in the gym, and as long as you're in the gym, you're right. Like, no, there's a lot of people making these same mistakes along the same logic and principles here that I'll get into as we go through it. But just these other things, you know, Pilates esque things and boot camp esque things that just promise things that they just simply can't deliver. Now again, all exercise is good, so let's roll with that. When you go from doing nothing or very little to doing some amount of exercise, be it Pilates, be it lifting weights, be it running, be it whatever you want, you are going to feel good because exercise, shocker, is good for you. And anything that is above and beyond sitting on your couch eating chips is going to make you feel good. But you would get the same benefits from going to that Pilates class, from going to that boot camp class, from going to the gym in a very short time period if you just got up off the couch and did 25 jumping jacks in front of your couch. Your body's going to start to feel good because moving your body is good. Everything is relative, and we need to keep that in mind here. So the reality is this. You start off, you go to that Pilates class or whatever. I'll keep using Pilates as a thing, but insert anything, these trendy kind of class stuff here. And not just classes, just all lifting, and not all easier lifting stuff, which again, I'll get into defining more of what that is later. You start going and you feel better. Then after, a few weeks, you stop really getting additional benefits from it other than the base level benefits that any amount or type of exercise would give you. And, weeks and months go by and you've spent hundreds or thousands of dollars on these things, and you're chasing that feeling that you got the first 5 times you went, which is gone, and you're never going to get it back because you are now above the level of you're sitting on the couch and doing nothing. So relatively, it's not making you feel better than you were before. It's just keeping you at the same. And maybe that's enough for you and that's all you care about. Chances are there's a lot more that you care about though. So now you're no closer to your goal. You're, thousands of dollars down and months of your time down, and you're no closer to your goal. My goal is not to discourage you from going to Pilates, going to boot camp, going to do jumping jacks and doing a rebounder. My goal is not to discourage you from that. My goal is to encourage you to do the things that are actually going to get you closer to your fitness goals based on the principles of physiology and science and logic, rather than just what is trendy or highly marketable and also straight up what are lies to you. I said again, there's a lot of things that fall into this. It's not just Pilates, it's not just rebounding. These are just kind of top of mind. So just want to reiterate that again. But another, again, big culprit of this in the gym is people who are just kind of going through the motions. You're still investing hundreds of thousands of dollars over time in gym memberships and equipment, in lost time, travel back and forth, blah, blah, blah. And you're just kind of going through the motions. And I'll give some very specific examples of what that looks like later on. The ultimate reality check that you need is that building your body in whatever way that you want to build it, doesn't necessarily mean a professional level bodybuilder, but building your body and hitting the fitness goals that you claim to have or claim to want is hard. And unfortunately, it also requires some hard work. Understandably, though, nobody wants that. Who wants to just work hard? Everyone works hard at work. You have stress in your life, your job, and all the stuff that you do in your life. Nobody wants to just work hard. Would rather just do something easier. Again, the problem is that it's not going to get you towards your goal. Now, if you have no goals, again, do whatever you want. Again, back to the beginning. Do your thing if you have no goals. But if you're listening to this, you probably do have some goals. And you're probably upset that you're doing a bunch of things that seems like, or you've been told like, or feels like is the right thing. And you've realized by now that it's not getting you the results that you want. Or possibly you're very much doing all the right things and getting good results, and you just want to hear me rant and rave about stuff, and that's cool too. And if that's the case, make sure that you make sure you subscribe, make sure you hit like, and make sure that you send the pod to someone else so that we can all share and laugh in this together. Let me explain why these things don't help you. Plain and simple, it is because they do not build muscle. And what you want is to build muscle, even if your main goal is not building muscle. The thing that you are looking for, The way that you shape your body is by building muscle. It's not just about losing fat and getting smaller. That is certainly part of it, but you need to build muscle to get to give your body shape. There was a podcast that I did, and let me actually just look it up on my computer here, where I talked more in depth about this, like why like building muscle specifically is so much more important. It may have actually been episode 188 as I'm just looking at it. Is episode 188 or 180? Oh, the Q&A one or the one about dirty bulking? Either one of those. And I'll link them in the show notes if I remember. Or if I don't, just message me and I'll send it to you. But that goes into a lot more detail about like why you need to build muscle and more detail about how building muscle shapes your body. So you need to do that. The reason that all of these non-lifting exercise things don't build a significant amount of muscle is because they don't follow the basic physiological principles of what's required to build muscle. In short, specific, progressive, and sufficient stimulus repeatedly applied to a muscle over time is like what's needed to build muscle. And a lot of these non-lifting things are typically not specific, not progressive, and just an insufficient stimulus. And, 3 strikes and you're out. Why do people gravitate towards these things, though? So we know this from a physiological perspective. Why do people still gravitate towards it? A lot of it's marketing, but a lot of it is because it's just relatively easy. Straight up. They may be challenging from like a skills perspective. I've gotten into arguments with people over this about Pilates. I said Pilates is easy, and it is easy. There's a reason why professional athletes do Pilates in season instead of like super hard, heavy, intense lifts. It's because Pilates is easy and allows them to just like do some restorative movement to help them recover. And that's what it's for. And that's what it's for. It's the point of it. It's not a knock on it. It is what it is. Pilates people say this like, oh, I bet you can't do, this. Insert Pilates movement on a reformer, some balancing, weird, twisty something. Bet you can't do that. Yeah, I can't do it because I've never done that before. It's just a random movement. Give me 5 minutes to practice the movement and learn how, what it is that you're asking me to do. And because I'm strong from strength training and mobile from strength training and have good proprioception and body awareness from strength training, I'll be able to do that within a couple of minutes because I have the prerequisite physical, the physical prerequisites to be able to do that. The same is not, and this is not for like a basic Pilates thing. I don't even know the levels of Pilates, but some advanced thing. And I've done this before. I've gone to Pilates classes, I've gone to yoga classes, and people are shocked. Oh, how are you good at this? Because you're just in shape. That's how it works. The same is not true in reverse. You ask a Pilates person, or these group class people or whatever, squat 300 pounds. Show me that. They can't do it because the skills and the strength, quote unquote strength, doesn't transfer over. It makes you good at doing that thing. And again, if your goal is to be really good at Pilates or really good at rebounding or really good at whatever group class thing, then great. Then do that and you'll get really good at that. It just doesn't transfer over to a lot of other things. In any case, enough about Pilates and done with that. I'll probably go back to it, but I'll try not to pick on them too much. It's human nature to search for easy things. This is normal, right? Because it's easier, it's more accessible, and so it's a great starting point for a lot of people. And this is basically what it is. Like a lot of these things were not developed to be super intense workouts or whatever, and most of the people who facilitate these things, especially those who have like great physiques and great bodies, didn't build it doing that. They may do that as their maintenance thing, and that may be the thing that they do now, and it may be fun, and I'm not doubting any of those things, and it's all of their own benefits, especially the group class, HIIT quote unquote workouts. They're just straight up easier than lifting weights that are heavy and that like in a progressive way and in a smart, intelligent, structured weightlifting program. But again, they're not gonna get you towards your goal. So they're just easier, and that's fine. But it is what it is, and this is why that we gravitate towards them. This goes back to a concept that I've been banging on about for many episodes in a row now, probably. But it's like you can do pretty much anything and get like pretty decent results in fitness as long as you show up and like kind of try hard enough. Like you go to, some group class that has like probably the worst programming that you could ever imagine. You just show up there 3 times a week for 5 years in a row. Like, yeah, you're not going to, win any bodybuilding shows, and no one's going to be impressed at how big your muscles are, but like you'll feel good, you'll look good, you'll be healthy. Like, and maybe that's all you want. And again, great. But again, you probably want more of that. So like the bar is very low for what has to happen as long as you're consistent and like at least kind of try hard and try to make it harder and like improve and progress on yourself over time, coupled with nutrition and all other stuff. But to talk about the way that this manifests in the gym with people who are lifting, because I don't want to make this whole rant thing sound like, again, I know I mentioned this before, but that as long as you're lifting, you're doing the right things, and anything not lifting is not doing the right things. No, this happens very often, in fact, with people who only lift, and just as often as anything else. Many people simply just don't lift. They just don't try hard enough. They just don't train hard enough. There's a scale, I've mentioned it before, but it's called RPE, rate of perceived exertion. It's like a 1 to 10, 10 being like the hardest possible, like if your life depended on it, how many reps could you do? That's like a 10 out of 10. Most people have never been to a 10 out of 10, and I don't necessarily recommend getting to a 10 out of 10 unless you're a little bit more advanced or experienced. Most people have never been close there. Most people, you walk around a gym, they're somewhere around what is probably like a 3 or a 4. And I know that sounds low, and it's true if you watch them train. The way to maybe describe this or quantify it is like you did 10 reps of an exercise, but if it was, your life depended on it, you could have done 25. That's just not enough intensity to grow muscle. Remember, one of the 3 things was sufficient stimulus. Just because you're lifting weights doesn't equal build muscle. Lifting heavy enough weights with enough specificity, with enough repetitions, with enough time to recover over a long enough period of time, all of that combined equals building muscle. And any one of those links in the chain that is missing is going to make the whole thing not work, or at least make it work way, 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 way less. So people mostly in the gym are straight up not training hard enough, and that is the main way. But it also disguises itself in some other ways. The sneakiest of which is not even people who don't train hard, but people who kind of do try hard, but they do so with poor technique. And not poor technique in a way that they're going to injure themselves, but things like not going through a full range of motion where they stop at like the hardest range of motion, which is typically also the part that grows the most muscle. So this is things like in a bicep curl, you go all the way down to a straight arm with a locked elbow and curl all the way up. In a squat, you go all the way down, all the way up. In a bench press, you come all the way down, touch your chest, open up your shoulders, and then press all the way through. Little things like that, and kind of just cheating ranges of motion because it's easier. It's easier to do it that way. And you're probably not even doing this on purpose. This is the craziest part of this. You're probably not even doing it on purpose, but you are doing it. I remember I had this very fond memory of, I think I was like, I must have been, it may have been high school. So I was probably like 14, 15, 16, something like that. And obviously I wasn't like a trainer. I was like a little bit, interested in fitness and whatever. But I was at the gym with some of my buddies, and I don't remember what the exercise was or what the details of the thing was. But I don't know why I remember this. It's actually crazy that I do. But one of my buddies was like, we were trying to, we didn't really know what we were doing. We were looking or learning from some older guys or from our dads or from our sports coaches and stuff. And we were trying to figure out how to do some exercise. And I was like, I'm pretty sure you do it like this. And then he said, no, but I like to do it this other way because it's easier that way. And that line from him just has stuck in my head ever since then. He said, I do it this way because it's easier that way. And conceptually, even at the time, I was like, but we're not trying to do this the easiest way. We're trying to do this the right way, because the right way is going to be the thing that's going to, as a 16-year-old boy, like build muscle and get us jacked. And like, that's what, and as a 16-year-old boy, I still care about that now, and maybe even more. You're not trying to do this the easiest way. If you're trying to do this the easiest way, just go home and take a nap. You're trying to do this the way that is going to build the most muscle and get you a good return on the effort and the time that you're putting into the gym. Because nothing is worse than spending, call it a 7 out of 10 perceived level of time investment and effort investment, and just not getting a good return on that, right? This is people who go to the gym for years and years and years and kind of consistently on and off, but they don't really try that hard, and they just don't get results. Well, you're still spending, and they're upset about the fact that they're not getting results. That's the key here. They're upset. If you're okay with just doing whatever you're doing and not progressing or whatever, then again, do whatever you want. But you're probably not okay with that. You want to get a good return on your effort and your time investment. So it's pretty sad to be in the gym for months and months and years and then just not getting good results. That really sucks. But if you just tried a little bit harder to be a little bit tighter on your form. Oh, you do it this way because it's easier? Yeah, well, let's do it this way because it's correct. How about that? Let's try that and see what happens. Oh, you're actually starting to gain muscle and get stronger now? Shocker, now you're happy even though you're working harder. So this all comes down to what you want. And the way that you get the things that you want is by doing the things that are required to get what you want, not by doing the things that are easy, are convenient, or just the things that you want. If we could just do whatever we wanted and get jacked, this podcast wouldn't exist. None of this fitness stuff would exist. Everybody would be walking around at 7% body fat and 245 pounds shredded. But obviously, that's not the case. So it's the half reps. It's the poor form because it's easier that way. And again, you're just shortchanging yourself to kind of sum all of that up. Some other examples that I thought of that I will caveat them heavy as I kind of go through a couple of them. They're along the same logic, and they're all in the frame of doing something that is a little bit easier, but these things are less obvious, and it'll make sense when I say the first one. I'll just talk about them now. Doing leg pressing with a machine leg press instead of a barbell back squat. Now, by no means is leg pressing bad for you, and it's a great exercise. However, objectively, it is easier than putting a heavy bar on your back and doing a squat. This kind of same principle goes for all machines versus all free weight movements, but obviously machine exercises are not bad for you in any way, but they are a little bit easier than the free weight counterpart. Now, the reason why this is I'm struggling to find the word here because I don't want to say it's a mistake, but the reason why there's a mistake in your thinking about this is because the reason you use a machine is because it's more specific and more stable. But that means that you need to try harder at it. You need to actually train harder because you can train harder. You can push way harder using a leg press, using a chest press, using a whatever, than you can just using a barbell or a set of dumbbells. And so unless you're matching that level of intensity to the exercise or the slightly easier version of the exercise, then you're just going to get less results from it. And that's what I'm trying to get at here. If you apply the same level of effort to a leg press that you would apply to a squat, you're going to get less effect out of the squat if weights are equated and all that stuff. You got to just push harder on a squat. If you a Smith machine is actually maybe a better example of this. If you squat the same amount of weight on a Smith machine that you squat on a free barbell for the same number of reps, you're just going to get your squat is the same number for the same number of reps. You squatted 225 for 10 reps. Great. 225 on the Smith machine is not the same as 225 on a free barbell. So you're doing quote unquote the same thing, but you're getting way less return on that because it's simply not as difficult, and it's not a competition of who can be the hardest. It's about, is it sufficiently difficult for your muscles to understand that, hey, I should grow or get stronger here? Maybe, maybe not. And so the thing to just be careful of with all machine stuff and constantly opting for the machine over the free weight variation of the same exercise or same movement pattern is that you just got to make sure that you're pushing hard on machines. That's all. And people are just coasting on machines because it's pretty hard to kind of coast on a back squat unless you're already pretty experienced. You can put a low amount of weight on the bar and you can have an easy set of back squats, let's say, right? But But if you're not, like you put someone under a barbell for the first time, it's 45 pounds, and you have them squat, and then you put 45 pounds on the leg press and have them do that. The 45 pounds on the barbell with 45 pounds squat with the barbell, the squat with a 45 pound barbell. Wow, I'm losing my words. I gotta slow down here. Is just going to be way harder, but also it's going to provide more stimulus to their body and more stimulus to grow. An interesting inverse of this that I've noticed, and this is not fully thought through, so I'm going to kind of think through it as I talk here, which it's risky business on the internet to do that, but we're only talking about exercise, so it's not it's not that important. Is I think people treat Bulgarian split squats in the reverse. I think that Bulgarian split squats are so difficult that people have, like, you realize that you don't need a lot of weight for them to kind of like light you up and be, make you feel sore, make you feel like your muscles are working and whatever. And in some way that is like way more convenient than maybe doing other exercises. This may be a terrible example actually as I'm thinking through it, but I think it is still somehow in the reverse. Like, or maybe it's just a good explanation of like why doing kind of free weight stuff matters a little bit more. It's just more convenient to actually get a significant amount of stimulus. You would have to use, there's not like an equivalent of this, but like I guess a single leg press, if you put your foot up high enough, is like the somewhat of the machine equivalent to like a Bulgarian split squat. You would have to use so much more weight on a machine than you would have to do on a Bulgarian split squat, on a regular Bulgarian split squat. And so even the act of like adding so much weight to the machine versus just, picking up a whatever pound dumbbell for split squats is like easier. But I mean, that's a pretty bad example, honestly. But I think somehow we maybe that helps us understand it. Like, hey, the reason why this has become accepted is because some people started doing it and like it, caught a little bit of steam and social media and stuff. And like, it's a great exercise. Don't get me wrong. It's a phenomenal exercise. But it's so hard that like you actually don't need that much stimulus for it to light you up. So that's a good example, just kind of like in the reverse here. Another thing that people do that is kind of crazy is people, like a cardio example of this is incline walking on the treadmill, but holding on to the handles. And it's like, well, gravity just doesn't, like, gravity is the answer to why does that not matter? Well, because if you hold on to the handles, well, then now you're not really on an incline. You're just like basically walking flat. And so it doesn't matter that you walk on the incline. The machine itself, it calculates the calories that you burned, which is nonsense to begin with. But it doesn't actually, it's just like an average based on the speed and incline of the treadmill. It doesn't know that you're holding on. You can, if you just run the treadmill and don't even walk on it and just let it run, it'll calculate calories burned. So that's step one, to know that this thing is not even actually counting anything that's individual to your body anyways. It's a very, very, very average calculation of some sort. But so if you are holding onto the handles, the workout is easier. It's easier to do it that way than if you weren't holding onto the handles and walking. But you convince yourself that, oh, I did incline walking, so like I'm good. Well, no, you're not, because you didn't actually do incline walking. Like, you didn't even do the thing that you said or that you thought that you were doing, which may or may not be your fault. This goes right back to some of the class stuff, some of the Pilates, some of the boot camp stuff. Is like, it says strength training, it says arm blaster, it says booty building, it says whatever it says. It can say whatever it wants. That doesn't mean that it actually does the thing that it says it does, because there are scientific principles that govern these things, and we don't get to make choices just because you call it an arm building class or a lower body strength. Like, unless you're 90, the lower body strength that you're doing with 6-pound dumbbells is not building strength in your body. I mean, it's just not. I'm getting too excited. These things really upset me. And it really upsets me because I know how much money people spend on these things and how much time and effort people spend on these things. And as a trainer, one of the very interesting things that happens, it was interesting to me anyways, as early on. Now I expect it, but early on, you get a bunch of people who come in and working at a gym before you're finding your own clients and stuff, but you get a bunch of people who will come in and they will say things like, oh, I've been going to such and such class, or I've been working out for 8 years, or I've been going to this, or I do that. I'm pretty active, And you think, okay, that's good. I mean, it starts to ask some questions like, oh, if you've been doing all this stuff and you've been doing so good, like, why are you here? Like, why are you looking to hire a personal trainer? It begs the question. And then, you get to, so you have a conversation, you do your whole intake thing, whatever. And then you get to the part where it's like, okay, let's do like a bit of a movement assessment, show me what you do, show me what you can do. And, let's assess it and see if you have any pain, any weaknesses, any imbalances, blah, blah, stuff like that. And you ask them to like, do a squat, do a push-up, do whatever. And then you realize very quickly, like, oh, this, they don't, again, no fault of their own and not a judgment, just a observation. They don't know what they're doing. Like they can't do a squat. They can't do a push-up. They can't do a pull down. They don't know how to do these things. So they've been working out, going to classes, going to whatever, but they don't know how to exercise. And that's why they're here. And it's because they've been doing a lot of stuff and not getting results because they haven't been taught or haven't been shown or haven't, for whatever reason, found the way to do things. And so, you realize like, oh my gosh, this person must have spent thousands of dollars on all of this exercise stuff that they've invested in over the past years. And sure, again, it's great that they're exercising. It's definitely better than the alternative, but they should be so much further ahead than they are. And that's why they're here, because they realize that like, holy fuck, I've wasted so much time. And like, there's got to be something that I'm missing, because there's no way that I could have been doing all the classes, doing all of this, doing all of that for all this time, and I still look and feel the way that I do. I've got to be doing something wrong. And then they luckily find a good trainer, hopefully. I think they found one when they found me. And then they very quickly realize like, wow, I've been doing a lot of things wrong or incorrectly, or maybe insufficiently is a better term, for so many years. And then they can make progress pretty quickly once we, fix them up and do things the right way. But again, it pains me when people like exercise shouldn't be like fitness shouldn't be this gate kept thing. Like we want everyone to be fit. And it pains me that people literally are stealing money from other people like yourself, selling them these false promises based on complete nonsense. When you're vulnerable, when you don't feel great, when you don't like the way you look and like the way you don't like the way you feel, and you're in a vulnerable spot, and they sell you the dream, and you openly buy in, and because it feels good at first, because it's easy to feel good. This is just how it works. You're going from doing nothing to doing something. It's going to feel good, and then you're just forever chasing that feeling, but you never get to where you're going. It's like the carrot dangling in front of you, but it's attached to your own head. Like you can keep chasing and chasing and chasing, and it's right there, but you're just never going to get it. So that's why like that's why I feel so strongly about this and get passionate about it, for better or for worse. A conversation that I often have with clients is about what they're willing and able to do, and that is the way that I phrase it. You say you want X. That's great. Client says that they want XYZ. And I'll say, okay, that's awesome. Based on everything that I know about you and whatever, here's what you need to do to achieve that goal in the time frame that you're saying. Are you willing and able to do that? And oftentimes, what they need to do to achieve that thing in that amount of time is shocking or new to them. It's, oh my gosh, I didn't think I would have to do that. I didn't think it would take that long. No, I'm not willing and able to do that. And then that's okay. That's very okay. All it means is we just need to adjust the goals, adjust the timeline, adjust expectations, or adjust what you were planning on doing. Maybe you're going to have to work harder than you thought you would have to work. And some people are okay with that and say, yep, okay, that's more than I thought I was going to have to do, but damn it, I want this, and so I'm going to get it. And they do, and then they get it. Or some people are like, oh, damn, didn't realize it was going to be that hard. What if we double the amount of time? I said I wanted to get this done in 6 months. What if we make this take a year? I'm like, okay, then we can take it a little bit slower. We do this, that, and the other thing. We switch it. Oh, is that more reasonable? Yes, great. Now that our goal is aligned with what we're willing and able to do, now we're connected. We are connected here, and we can actually proceed forward without having this like anxiety of, I want this thing, but I'm not willing to do the things that are required to get this thing. And how do I marry those things? It's a very tough place to be in. So you got to get clear on like what you want to do and how you actually get to that thing. Not what someone's going to sell you on how you get to that thing, just based on scientific principles and history and logic. How do you get that thing? And that is all that I'm trying to get at with this whole rant. I'm just so sick and tired of like all of the nonsense marketing and the straight up just lying of just to get stuff because exercise feels good. Because exercise feels good, you can convince people of a lot of things because you go and jump around and you have fun and it's social and whatever. And by all means, all those things are good. And if you like that, like keep doing that. It's definitely part of a whole well-rounded fitness routine, all that stuff. But if you have bigger goals than that, which 99% of you do, then there's got to be more. And I'm sick of the lies. So I just want to get this all off my chest. And hopefully this was helpful or eye-opening or educational in some way. Comes down to changing your body. You want to make some real changes, just takes some hard work. We unfortunately in this life we don't get to make the rules. I wish I could sit here and tell you that it was easy and there was a simple way and like just do this thing. But unfortunately I'd be lying if that were the case. And I may not always be a nice guy, but I will certainly always be a good guy. And that means that I'm not going to lie to you. So I hope you learned something from this. I'm going to close it off here. If you have questions, thoughts, further comments, feel free to send me a message on Instagram or on X. If you're someone who's been stuck in a cycle of doing things that are not getting you the results that you want, and you're maybe not ready for coaching yet, but you want to dip your toe in strength training, or you've been strength training but you're not quite sure if what you're doing is right, you don't have the right plan, you're not sure how to pair exercises, you don't know how to make a workout program, of course, for coaching, definitely you can reach out to me. We can talk about coaching. But if you're not ready for that yet, not ready to take that leap, in the show notes of this is my free workout program. Totally free. It's a 3-day-a-week program. It's great. You can download that and you can start following that. You can follow it to a T, or you can take bits and pieces from it and insert it and use it as you like, or learn some exercises or what have you. There's substitutions, there's demos for all the exercises, all that good stuff is in there. So if you need that, it's in the show notes. You can just download that for free. And if you're ready for more than that and need more individualized attention, structure of your program, structure of your lifestyle and your nutrition, and accountability on top of all of that, because that's really the biggest key, then send me a message and we'll talk about coaching. The link for that will also be in the show notes. But yeah. I appreciate you for listening. Thank you for listening to my rant. Hopefully it wasn't too emotional and it was a little bit at least cohesive. Share the pod, like and subscribe, all those good things. It really does help a lot. So I really appreciate each and every time that happens. So thank you very much. Go outside, be a good person. See you soon.